Welcome back to Flying Upstream. I am your host, Louisa Anderson, and with me today is my amazing co host, Kristen Medeiros. And today we have an inspiring guest who has truly transformed her life through the power of surrender and self empowerment.
That's right. Today we are so excited to have Jessica Summers with us. She's not only a wife, mother, fashion designer, and boutique owner, but someone who has walked a powerful journey of overcoming addiction, homelessness, and personal loss to find herself again. Today we'll explore her story, the lessons she's learned, and the ways she's helping others let go and come into alignment with their true selves. Through her own experiences, she's learned how to let go, surrender, and come into alignment with her authentic self. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have you. We're so excited to learn from you and your journey. So, we want to jump right in. And you've had what I like to call a big life, is what it sounds like. And I define a big life as someone who has lived a lot of experiences, both good, bad, and the ugly, right? After everything that you have gone through, Jessica, what would you say was the turning point when you realized that surrendering and letting go is the key to healing?
Ooh, that is a good one. So, I mean, for me personally, I had to crash and burn so hard. I mean, I had to, yeah, I mean, pretty much, I mean, you can't get any further down, I don't think. And that's exactly why I do what I do, because I was running off that old programming of if I just do a little bit more, if I just push myself a little bit
Mm,
more, then I can fix myself, show up the way I should and could, and, all of that stuff that I was really unaware of until I mean, I got to yeah, I mean, the end. Like, I didn't my story is I wouldn't say it is a common story. I mean, but at the same time it can happen to anybody, you know um so I mean, I was physically ill after my second pregnancy. I had complications with the pregnancy. They left placenta behind. And that was like the beginning of the end of my life as I knew it, but I didn't see it. And because I was doing all the stuff, the right stuff, like you're sick, you go back to the doctor, you take what you're prescribed. And that just, yeah, that was the beginning of a downward spiral of, I mean, I also had like postpartum, and it's funny to me now, but not so funny in the bigger picture. But I signed up for the like 6 months in of like after the pregnancy, and I was sick, and I didn't know like what was going on with me anymore. It's like I keep having to go to the doctor and more medication, and I feel worse. You know what I'll do? I'm going to sign up for the AIDS marathon, San Francisco AIDS marathon. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to start training for a marathon, and that'll get me back into shape, right? I mean, what? But that is a perfect example of how I thought, I have everything. I shouldn't be complaining. Other people have it worse off than I do, right? There was so much programming, like I say, that I was so unaware of until I crashed and burned, and then decided, okay, I'm going to do the work and figure out how to do this a little different this time, right? And that's why I'm like so passionate about this, because I would never, ever in a million years want anyone to experience what I experienced, because I mean, it was physical, mental, emotional, spiritual warfare. I mean, it was like the darkest place. I mean, where you can't run and you can't hide, you know? So again, this is that message that I want to get across. Like the doing, the pushing, the road to success, we don't have to do that. There is another way. Once you stop and pause and decide, I'm going to do things different, because there really is, I mean, you ladies know, there is a completely different way of living our lives, and not only for the betterment of ourselves, but for those around us. Because once we do the inside job, right, it's we lead by example and allow others to do the same.
Yes, you're speaking my language.
And
And,
I didn't know this stuff before, but I do now.
I think it's really important just to point out what you just said, that we are conditioned to do more, keep going, right? You said you were at a really a serious point in your life, right? You were sick, you were having postpartum depression. Like, that's all big stuff there. And then on top of that, society is telling you, hey, you know what you should do? Don't step back and take care of yourself. You should train for a marathon, right? That's that is the signals we're getting. That's the push we're getting. And it's true for everybody. I think that's especially true for women and mothers. That must be able to do it all vibe is what is just forced upon us all the time. And how sad that is. So I want to acknowledge the fact that you did notice what was going on and say, like, okay, this is definitely too much. I cannot go down this trajectory anymore. And I need to take a step back and not only do what's right in the eyes of society, but do what's right in the eyes of my own self. And I hear that coming back. And we mentioned earlier the importance for you in coming to alignment with your true self. So we know a little bit now how you've taken that path for yourself. I'm curious to know how you help others navigate that journey, especially when they're struggling with their own challenges or fears.
Right. And so, I mean, that's the big one, to start unlearning some of that stuff, right? To really question, like, okay, we have to get real and honest here, right? Nothing changes until something changes. So you have to decide, like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to, because I see this all the time, and I get it too, because I was in that same place. We're afraid of the unknown, and we're incapacitated in that. Right. And I hear people say it all the time, like, I don't even want to know what that is. And that's man-made, right? That is all man-made stuff and an illusion, right? Because like our safety, it's like, oh, if I won't get into politics, but it's like we have this image of things. Well, if this were to happen, we'll be fine, right? Like all of these things that we tell ourselves, these stories, big and small. It's not real, right? So if we can just, even if we don't understand what that means, just to acknowledge that just for a second, that, okay, maybe there's something in that. So I'm just going to try, right? I'm going to try to look at myself and be honest with, what am I saying to myself? How do I talk to myself every day? Because we run off such a pre-programmed and negative, right? Even if we hear something good, we still judge it. If we're not doing it ourselves, we judge it in a negative way. Like, that's foo-foo, that's la-la, that's crap, that's, I know what I know. And I'm not going to listen or hear anything outside of that. But that's exactly where, if I can point that out in somebody's behavior, in that's where I tell them, you know what? That's exactly where my mindset was. That's exactly where I was.
Yeah.
So please
It-
hear me and stop, right? Because that's where we make the change. We put the brakes on right there and start to dig in that and let go, because you don't have the choice of pushing down what you want. You push down, you push it all down, right? That means your true self and genius lies under the crap that you're afraid to let go of.
Ooh,
Did I
yeah.
answer the question?
I don't know, but I loved everything that you said. I think you absolutely did, and you touched on a couple points there that I think are worth of bringing up. I think the really big one is you mentioned, how it is like how our true self lies underneath all the crap, right? Like that is all the stuff that we've picked up along the way from our parents, our aunts, uncles, schoolmates, parents, all of the people except ourselves.
Yeah.
And the other point that I think goes right along with that you also mentioned is our ability to see our true selves really lies in us being honest with ourselves. Like you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be able to see all of the parts of yourself before you can even get down to your true self. Like you have to undo all the stuff up here. So I love that. But the theme of everything that you were saying to me was self love, because I think that's a pivotal one that we miss because we are taught in every capacity, in my own life experience, as it sounds like as has been yours as well, is that we look for love in all different places, in material things. We look for love in our careers. We look for love in everything except ourselves. But the reality is that where it starts is within ourselves. And I want to know, Jessica, in your own experience, how has your understanding of self love evolved through all of it up until this point?
Well, I mean, that's huge, right? Because that was part of my learning experience too. I didn't even know that I didn't know what that even meant, right? Like self-love, what does that even mean? Kind of has a little ring or like a little tinge of right, with like a negative thing. Like what does that mean even, But once I started doing the work, it's like, oh, um, let's pull back the layers. Oh, wait, I have low self-esteem. Ouch. I have abandonment issues. Ouch. Like, I had all this stuff and it was all wrapped up and jumbled together. So when I started pulling those things back, I started to really learn about me and appreciate myself for who I really am,
Yeah.
and love myself instead of what I've been taught of this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, right? With this black and white thinking, which actually, again, once you start peeling back the layers, you start to unravel and untwist that story, right? And you really get to see things in such a right now I really feel like first of all, I have never known um calm or peace,
Mm.
um not to worry, like any of those things. I've never known that before, up until now, right? So again, like all of those things, in like the anxieties and the stress and the worry, all of those things were actually wrapped up in because I didn't know self-love and self-worth and all of those other things, right? Because once you get to understand who you are, because we're all allowed to do that, like it is our birthright, right? Then you can kind of just chill and go, okay, I have my path, I'm on it, and I'm going to take it. Thank you. I know where I'm going, and I don't have to strike like I mean, again, I keep thinking like worry. I just remember how much I worried all the time that I was on a race to get to, I don't even know where, but I was in a hurry to get there, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, self-love is huge because there's another thing too, people pleasing. I was a big people pleaser. So again, it's like I wasn't loving myself, I was giving it away to everybody else.
Mm.
Right? How many of us can, and I've seen it, a lot of us have picked that up somewhere on our journeys that to care, to be a good person, a caring person, you have to give that away to somebody else before you give it to yourself. Right? And isn't that, if you think about it, kind of a backwards way of thinking? It's like, if I give everything away, how am I supposed to show up for anybody? Isn't it more of a, I mean, isn't it kind of powerful actually if we all take care of ourselves to the best ability that we can? So then we can show up in even a better way for others.
Yeah. You know what this is bringing up for me is the concept that you can either be your true authentic self or you can be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, I think, choose to be accepted because we want community, we want support, we want to feel loved, even though it may not be true love that we're receiving, we think it is. And
Yeah.
so people push down that authentic self, and that's what you're talking about, right? But what they don't realize is that as soon as you swing the other way and you just be yourself, whoever that is, that's when you find your true community. That's when you get your self-love and kind of elevate yourself to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's exactly what you're talking about, but it's so hard to explain that to somebody, right? When they're kind of in it. Yeah.
Right. Especially, I mean, when you're in it, again, I mean, this is a real, I mean, is it kind of a testing of faith, really, is you can really jump and know it's going to be okay because you stepped out a little bit, right? Out of the comfort zone that you were in. If you could just understand too that, like, I mean, kind of what you're saying too, like that comfort, like it's not real and it will get tested, right? So why don't we, in fact, sorry, I'm all over the place. I just remember a article that I wrote not too long ago. At the end of it, it said, if we could just step out of our comfort zone just a little bit and jump with all the faith in the world, knowing that your higher self is there waiting to catch you. And I believe that, like, wholeheartedly now. Every time I step into the fear, I question, is that old? Is that real? And I mean, right now, I mean, it's all old. It's all old stuff. And I go, okay, let's do this. And it's every time I do it, I get to leave the past behind and step into my future. And that goes into too, it's like what I'm trying to help others too. But you have to be where they're at, right? So I can't force my own journey on them and well, this is what I know, right? It's how to say all of these things to match up to where they are on their journey, where they go, oh, I heard something in that. Because once they do one little step, right, we kind of start jonesing for it. Right? It's like, okay, I want a little bit more of this and a little bit more, because the more out of it you get, the more you realize too that, okay, maybe we're onto something here. Maybe that is true, that this is not real, an illusion. And I'm not really safe. And the love is right. We get told we're loved by being told. How about I come over here and I'm
Mm.
shown it because it
Ooh.
feels good.
Yeah.
That is something amazing that I want to take a second and like reflect on, because what you just shared about being loved is something that is so true. Is like, I'm loved because I'm told. We that is I will call that an epidemic, to be honest, is like people believing we're taught to believe that someone loves us because they told us they love us. And I
Yeah.
feel like there is so much power in those words that you just said. I've never heard it said that way. But how about you show me? Like, you don't even need to tell me. Just show me. I feel like we would have so much less suffering if we all had that notion that, hey, love is not being told that you are loved. Love is felt. Love is actions. Love is shown in so many other ways. Not that being told is not important, but that shouldn't be all of it. And also, so important that we're not going to get love. I'm a big believer in that. Energetically, everything that we get, we are attracting because that is what we are putting out.
Yeah.
And if we are not receiving love to the level, extent, and depth that we should be expecting it, then that means that there's still work that we need to do within us, because I think people are like looking for it outside,
Yeah.
that we need to that needs to be, needs to come first before we go seeking and trying to pay attention and trying to accept verbal love from other people. I really love that you shared that. I wanted to take a moment to reflect on that.
Awesome. I'm glad you heard that too. I mean, because I think it's really so important, because if we're feeding off of each other in the way that we're being told, then we question ourselves in not responding in the way we're actually being told, right? Well, this is what I do for you. I told you that I love you. And then you scratch your head and go, well, why do I feel like shit? you know, like, and then we question ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just perpetuates this mixed messaging where we don't find ourselves in that. We just show up how we think we need to because we're being told so.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Jessica, I want to pivot a little bit. We're going to switch things up here a little bit more. We want to keep getting to know you and kind of in a different way. So we're going to do some rapid fire questions. Are you ready? Here we go. Okay. What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning to set the tone for your day?
So I would be a liar if I said 7 days a week, but I try to do this. Yeah, I try to do this every day because it really is. I have built up to this, and this is my go to. So it is my morning meditation walk. And it is, I mean, I've come from a place to where my depression and my sickness and all that, where I was bedridden. Like,
Mm.
I couldn't get up. I couldn't move. And then, of course, when I did, like, the old extreme self of me was like, okay, let's do this. But I couldn't sustain it. So I came back down again and just started with going to the corner. And when I started this new like baby step thing, it made me more aware of how intentional I can do things. And so, what I mean by that is awareness is everything, right? I was aware of my surroundings. I was aware of watching the sun come up and the birds in the trees and the messages, the receiving, and what I allowed to come to me. The state of being in gratitude that I was able and still am able to start my days off like that. I mean, it's not only exercise, I'm outside getting fresh air, the vitamin D, the what, I mean, there's so many things in that. Um, and I set my intentions for the day, right? I'm, like I say, it is a state of being. It's gratitude. It is my prayer. It's my meditation. It's my everything.
I
And
love
it
that.
sets me up.
I love that. That's beautiful. Um, okay, next question, rapid fire. What is the hardest part of the surrender process for you personally?
Woo-wee. Well, in fact, on doing a lot of writing about that around surrender because it is, I mean, until you've done it, you know, a few times in order to catch yourself, right? And go, okay, I'm getting in my own damn way again, right? It's like you've got to do it a couple of times to recognize that you're doing it. Um, I'm trying to think of something that I've done recently. I guess, yeah. So if I worry about something that I know damn well that I don't need to, I'm still in a place now where I can still go, hey, wait, 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 wait. Give it up. Give it up. You don't need to worry about that because you said thank you a long time ago because you know your path and your journey and you're on it. So what are you tripping on? you know,
Yeah.
but that is exactly for me what is good for me because it also keeps me in the here in the now in my coaching and what I share of I understand how we get in our own way. That is exactly what we're working on is getting out of our own way. So what is that? It's surrendering, right? It's like the death of the ego self and just get
Mm,
out of here, right? And that's hard because we have been taught like I know what I know and nobody's going to tell me any different. It's hard, right?
yeah.
It's hard. And so and I see it all the time. It's like it's okay. But that is the journey of all journeys, I would say, is for us to recognize us ourselves in our own way and that it's okay to surrender and let go.
That's great. It's a really great piece of advice to remember there. Next question. Okay, what is one small habit you've implemented that has made a big difference in your mental health?
Well, for sure, like that, the morning, right? I mean, it is night and day. You either allow circumstance in the day to rule you, or you get in front of it and tell the day this is how it's going down. you know, because I have lived in response to the world happening. You can live like that, or right. I mean, you're still surrendering, but you still are intentional of how you're going to show up for that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, and that is so true. I think you said it great. You said it beautifully, where you're like you're either going to be responsive to what the day brings to you, or you're going to set out what kind of day you're going to have. And I think that the power of that is really, really underrated because when you take control of yourself, and it starts by just taking control of your day, right? Because that's all we have is the present moment. All we
Yeah.
have is right now. So what can you do is you can set out how you want to live that day. And not that everything is going to go as planned because surrender, but you have set out the intention for what you want. And with time and repetition, in my own experience, then that becomes your life. You wake up one day and you look around and you're like, I kind of manifested this life. And yeah, yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Next rapid fire question for you is, what does coming home to yourself look like for you on a typical day?
Oh, that's such, that makes me want to cry. Seriously.
Yeah,
Oh, so I'm a big crybaby and I'm totally emotional.
I love
um,
that. It's
because
like I'm human.
that is really such a wow, that is such a beautiful gift that we can give to ourselves. That it is a gift to ourselves, right? That is, we all have it. It's all for us. It is, yeah, if we could all just acknowledge, right, that once we accept ourselves for who we are, um, and get to take a breath in that, it's like, oh man, I am who I always was. What? Right? But I was afraid. I gave my power away. I listened to who I was by somebody else telling me who I was. I mean, I listened to being told what was wrong with me and what I needed to do to fix me. And now I don't have to do that. I don't have to show up with a mask. Oh, wow. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's a beautiful gift. I totally agree with that. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
it's beautiful. Well, we are winding down here with our time with Jessica Summers today. And so we've got just one more question for you, Jessica. And from all of our conversations today, it's clear that your experiences have shaped who you are today. What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in their own story and unsure of how to move forward?
And that is a big one. I just said this the other day. Actually, it was in that live I did. I want you to sit down with a piece of paper and write out your biggest, most absurd dream life, like what you want your life to be and look like. And then sit down with all the comments that you gave yourself on why that could never happen or why somebody else have it and you couldn't ever achieve it. And that's exactly where you start, because you need to answer those questions on why you think it's outside of yourself, and what are those things that are blocking you from getting it, right? And once you write that down of your dreams, right, say thank you, because you can go on that journey to get it as soon as you do that work of what you wrote down of why you're not there or what's getting and standing in your way, because you can do it. You just have to do that work, and it's okay, and it's good, and it's actually fabulous, and I would recommend it to everyone.
Oh, I absolutely love that, Jessica. Thank you so, so much for sharing your powerful knowledge and your story with us. You've truly inspired us, and I know that our listeners will walk away with so many valuable insights on surrender, on healing, and the power and the importance of personal growth, just based on your own journey that you've shared with us today. Your journey really is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, which I think is something that we can forget very easily with everything that conventional media and society, kind of puts on us that we just decide to walk with. So today, Jessica, we're so grateful that you joined us. We're so grateful for your wisdom, and we are grateful for all of the experiences that brought you to be here and share your journey with us today.
Yes.
Thank
And
you so much.
I could not agree more with you, Louisa. And for all our free spirits out there, if you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Flying Upstream. And for show notes, resources, and more from today's episode, visit our website at kristenmedeiros.com/podcast.
Thank you so much for being a part of our community. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and most of all,